で今日はね私も思い出の尊敬するスティーブン・ハッフ、私がジュリアードの時に実は同じ練習室で勉強してた。So, hello Stephen, Mr. Takak-san, 今日は So nice to see all of you.
Thank you. How nice to be here.
Yeah. So actually, I was studying at Juilliard when I was from 17 to 20, which is so many years ago. And I used to practice at 5th floor Juilliard practice room. And at the same time, I remember you always practicing all the time inside with the pipe. The brown wooden pipe. Yeah.
Yes, no, I smoked a pipe. I think it was my 17th birthday. My father took me, it was like a ritual, he took me to a tobacconist in Manchester, and there were all these pipes and all this tobacco, and I chose a pipe, and we sniffed all of opening the wooden jars and smelled the tobacco, and I chose one that I liked, and I had a little 2-ounce packet, and so it was a wonderful coming of age. Maybe these days it's not so fashionable. You wouldn't take your children to smoke pipe. You try and stop them smoking. But anyway, I loved the pipe very much. And yes, I learned most of my repertoire with a pipe in my mouth.
So your father was the first one to introduce the beauty and the pleasure of pipe.
Yes, indeed. And so all of that repertoire. But the problem with a pipe is that, the ash comes out of the pipe if you're moving along, and so I learned Rachmaninoff third always with a pipe. Yum bum 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 bum, the ash coming out, and so many of the trousers I had learning that have burn marks. So
it's no wonder, because the practice they had a small window to practice, and when I look at you, of course, all the time is the decoration is
See, my teacher always smoked a pipe, Gordon Green.
I
never saw him without a pipe. So he would teach, and there all this smoke, you couldn't see him. You knew he was over the other side of the room, and then, there he is, because all the smoke from his pipe. But sadly, he died from associated things. So if he hadn't smoked his pipe, he would have lived longer.
And how about lesson with Adela Marcus? You studied with Adela Marcus?
I did, yes.
Adela Marcus, and before Adela Marcus, you studied with Martin Kahn.
Yes. Oh, I see. I knew that Adela Marcus, she had only few students. How was her lesson?
Well, she didn't smoke a pipe.
I see.
I mean, she's a wonderful lady, and by the time I was studying with her, she was quite old.
80s?
Probably 8 or and I can't really say that the lessons were very good. She was very forgetful, and also I have to say now, because I teach Juilliard myself now, I have 2 students. And her way of teaching is the opposite to how I want to teach. The opposite. And maybe also Gorodnitsky.
Of course.
Because that generation, it's you do this, and you do this, and you do this. I want to find the personality of each of my students. I want them to be themselves. And I've had some very interesting, wonderful students. All of my students there, I've had maybe a dozen now over the years. And I love them all, and they're all very different. And that's what I treasure. I don't want them to sound like me. I want
These 2 students, what nationality are they?
Well, one of them is Chinese, and the other is Canadian Chinese.
Both are Orientals. I see.
Yes. Well, Juilliard is 80% now from Asia.
And mostly Chinese or Korean?
Both.
But less Japanese, right?
Yeah, I think Japanese would go to Europe more, don't they? To France, to Germany, generally. I mean, so many wonderful Japanese. In fact, I was on the Cliburn jury last year, and one of my favorite players, he didn't make the finals. I was very upset about it. Was Japanese.
Oh, really?
Beautiful pianist, very, very elegant and beautiful.
So which is your room in Juilliard? Which number?
Oh, well, I only have 2 students.
By which number is your
They
class?
put me wherever there's a free room.
Oh, I see. You don't.
Because you see, I share both my students. I do 30 hours a year.
I see.
So it's nothing. It's not even 1 week of teaching. I just don't have time. But I like just the 2 students that I have. And it was very interesting in the Cliburn. I was just, piano playing goes in waves of different styles and different traditions, of course. And before the Second World War, there was a certain kind of playing. I mean, one thinks of Cortot and of Rachmaninoff. And then after the Second World War, things became very much more clean and a different style. And then in Russia, you have the Soviet style. You have Richter and Gilels and Berman, all of those, very different from Rachmaninoff. And then you have in America Cliburn and Browning and very much more streamlined. And then I think in the 70s we began to get even more clean, Pollini, Ashkenazi, you know. But I think what we're getting now, and I find it fascinating, is that there's becoming to be a sort of, I mean, it's always generalizing, of course, but a sort of Asian style which is taking the things from the past as well, because many of my students are interested in Cocteau and the players from there.
Yeah,
and
it's the golden age. No?
Yeah,
The
from
golden age,
YouTube. You know, we have YouTube to thank for this. Yes, thanks to YouTube. So I'm very happy about this because I find there's a beautiful elegance. See, I like piano playing that has elegance, that is transparent, that you hear voices, that you hear there's a certain kind of rubato, there's a certain... And I'm hearing this now in the students from an Asian background, even if they're born in the States or Canada. And
Actually,
how wonderful it
yesterday
is.
I was talking to another musical critic, and she told me, I was very shocked to hear this, and she said that nowadays the students in Japan, in musical school, they don't know who is the architect, they don't know who is Pollini, the generation, they don't know who they are, they don't really care. For them, the star is like the very young pianist who won the Chopin competition, you know, the late 20s, but above 70s around, Pollini, Argerich, those they are not interested. No, they don't even know their name. And I was very shocked to hear. So that means they don't really understand the sonority of the pianists of the golden age. Let's say the Tchaikovsky or Gilles, you know, this very entertaining, but you know, with a tonality, singing tone. They don't really know this. And even if they hear in the YouTube, you don't feel the tone through the YouTube.
It's true. I think there's a lot, and certainly I always encourage people to listen, but many of my students do. And in fact, you know, just the other day my student plays wonderfully the Rachmaninoff Mendelssohn Midsummer Night's Dream. And I mentioned to him, I think in the past, the Mosevich recording, which is so extraordinary. And then this time, months later, he was saying, oh yeah, and the wonderful Mosevich recording and the way he uses less pedal here or something like this. So I'm very happy with that because I think that there's something to learn from every generation. And we, you know, there's a certain sort of tradition can be a dictatorship, or it can be very informative and freeing. And I think we should hear lots of things. You know, when you hear someone like who studied with Lechechitsky, who studied with Czerny, you know, I mean, it's very important to have that connection.
It's true. And of course, I want to talk about you, which is I really respect you. I listened to so many CDs. So Benjamin Britten is very wonderful. And actually, last year I played your transcription of The Sound of Music in my concert. But it is very difficult. It's very difficult. It's beautiful, but you know, But what I like the most is your transcription is very sophisticated.
Well, I try to make them very classical.
Yes, sophisticated and very beautiful melody, the harmony, which goes like the jazzy part in the end, the right hand. I love that part, but it's quite difficult for me to memorize, you know.
Yeah.
But I love that piece, and everybody thought, oh wow, this is the first time I hear. Everybody, of course, hasn't heard this in live.
Right.
Yes.
Well, you know, in 2020, I got an email from Lang Lang's musical. So I did 12 transcriptions for him of Disney songs.
Really?
And actually, you may know this release. He released it. Yeah, well, 7 of those are mine. So I did all of these, and I wanted to make these in the style of classical. So there are some that he didn't do, but he did. Can You Build a Snowman? Which I did slightly in the style of Rachmaninoff, as if Rachmaninoff would have done Frozen. Can you imagine?
Are they published this?
I'm not allowed to. Universal owns the rights, but maybe next year. I think they have 18 months exclusivities. But no, I did 3 from the Mary Poppins. Feed the Birds, which is the one that he began. And
Supercalifragilistic?
Yeah, I did that one. He didn't record that. So I want to play these in concert next year. There's a little suite of 3 of them, and also Chim Chim Churi, which sounds a little bit like Rachmaninoff. That also like one of the Études Tableau. So no, this is my goal with these popular songs. I want them to be classical.
Yes. Yeah, because I love that. Really, that's such a sophisticated, beautiful. Everything. It was. It's the ending is so like. It ends like. Like a wind, but very beautiful wind.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So. I hope I can play this Disney song.
I wanted to cover it. I did about 12. Beauty and the Beast. He did record that. What else did he do? The Bare Necessities. That's more jazzy.
And when do you have time to transcribe? You have to be so busy playing the concerts. So how long does it take to transcribe?
It depends, really. I mean, with all of my writing, if I get an idea, I can write a first sketch very quickly. But then I take a year to. I mean, this is with my sonatas or with major piece I'm playing tomorrow night, which is a partita. This takes a lot of time, and I just finished a piano concerto, which I'm playing in January next year.
Ooh, wow. Do you write by hand?
Yeah. And then when I finish writing, I copy into Sibelius on the computer, because then I can email to my publisher the parts, or indeed to Lang Lang. I was able to email him these. He was in China. There was a pandemic. I was in London. And I was able to do that. But
it must be so. Your finger doesn't get tired of writing.
Well,
it's a score. It's a
hard work. With a piano concerto, that was a lot of writing.
Is a pencil
so,
like?
Do you use usually the finale or something like
Sibelius?
Yeah, I see.
Yeah, so I copied it. But I was working this morning on something. I'm doing transcription. Someone has asked me to write a piece for saxophone and piano. So I was making a version of another piece that I've written. But I was doing that in my hotel this morning before I came here. And I go back this afternoon to finish the part for that. But so in fact, this week, I was asked to do a song. I'm playing for the King of Thailand, and they asked me to play this Thai song. So now that was a challenge, because this is really a pop song. So to do this in the style of Rachmaninoff was difficult. But I've got as close, I think, as I can. So it's an encore for this week. Well, actually, no, it's a week on Monday next week.
Yeah, so now it's more and more pianists in younger generation, they play your transcription, also your original composition.
Some do, yeah. There was actually a Japanese student did a dissertation on my first piano sonata at Manhattan School. So. There are some people playing them and different pieces, so I've got quite a lot of original pieces done, and that's what I love doing. I of course still love playing concerts, but it's a very important part of my life is to be composing, and I'm now just beginning to write a piano quintet for Chamber Music Society at Lincoln Center. But I have a year, but I need a year, because I don't have time to every day to sit at the desk. But in Adelaide last week, or 2 weeks ago, I spent a whole day working on this. So I've now started to get the ideas are coming. So.
Do you spend most of the, like in London, and which part of the world do you spend?
Well, London is home.
Yes.
I have a place in New York, but I'm not there very much.
I see.
Maybe 2 weeks a year.
So maybe you have a house in the Sydney or Adelaide in the Australia.
I have a passport, that's all.
No
house.
I see. Sorry.
My father was born there, and so when he was born, which was before 1947, 1947 is the key date. If your parents were born before then, you were automatically Australian. So I didn't have to apply, it was just there, because Australia was simply part of the UK before 1947 when it changed after the war. The Commonwealth took over from the Empire. It was a sort of thing, so it was a different thing. But no, I wish I had a place in Australia. But maybe sometime in the future. I love going there. So I think maybe Sydney, looking out over the water, would be nice. Do you both go to Australia?
I visited once, but I like Melbourne very much. I went to Sydney, Brisbane, and Melbourne. I loved Melbourne, and I visited the exhibition of Percy Grainger.
Yes.
Have you been there?
No, I haven't been.
So you've been to the Percy Grainger Museum?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, wonderful.
The underwear he used to design, he was a very funny person.
Yes. Yeah.
And you're very fashionable with the yellow socks and this tie.
Well, oh,
Yeah,
that's fun, you
this
know.
style is so fascinating.
Is this
yeah,
tie a very modern artist?
Yeah.
No, this is from a shop called Richard James in London.
Oh, I see.
Here's free advertising for Richard James.
Oh, it's a design.
It's a great shop of shirts and suits, and in fact, I think the suit is also Richard James.
Wow.
Very
But I'm amazed that I found something to match because I've been away now for 40 days on the road, and I put in my suitcase 40 pairs of underpants and 40 pairs of socks.
Oh my God!
And actually, sometimes you think, well, I no longer have anything that matches, but I found this morning that the yellow in the tie sort of matches. So,
I see.
and I wasn't sure if this was going to be filmed, so I'm happy that I didn't come in my old jeans.
Yeah.
And how about you're traveling all the time? What's your favorite food? I mean, which kind of cuisine?
I love all kinds of food. I love Japanese food.
Yeah, but in Japan, you like very much sushi.
I do.
Oh, he told
I had
me
some
about
sushi
it.
last night.
Yeah.
And I
that's
probably will
nice.
have. Even wherever I'm traveling on the day of a concert, my favorite lunch is sushi for a concert.
Which fish do you like, especially?
I like them all. Except I don't like the chewy ones. So the squid, I don't like.
Yes.
Or very, very strong flavour. I like the uni if it's fresh, but sometimes you have to be careful where you have it. Here is fine, but if you're in Milwaukee or somewhere, maybe the uni is not going to be so fresh. And I love ikura.
Oh, yeah.
And then salmon is always wonderful. I think salmon is such a pure flavour. But I'm not a great connoisseur of. I went with Charles Dutoit once for sushi in Sapporo.
Oh, I see.
Wow.
And it was the most disgusting meal for me because everything was weird and it was the brains of some crab or something. Everything slimy and strong, and I just felt ill. And in fact, I ended up faking. I was coughing, and I would put the sushi under the table of the restaurant. I couldn't eat it. So by the end of the meal, I wanted to go to McDonald's because I was so hungry. I think it was just a very, very esoteric kind of restaurant. Probably the most delicacy of the rarest things of everything. But sometimes just ordinary, a piece of salmon is the best, for me. I don't have hugely sophisticated. I don't like offal, like brains and kidneys and insides of things.
So you don't cook? Do you cook yourself?
I haven't cooked for 21 years.
Oh, I see. 21, which is very precise.
Well, it's when I met my partner. So we
does he cook?
No, neither of us. He's the worse cook than me.
Oh, really? So you were always.
So we eat out. From day 3 of living together, we've eaten out every day.
But it's lovely to, be always, so you can explore a lot of restaurants together.
And in London, there's plenty of choice. Well, we have maybe half a dozen where we go all the time. And we often have the same dishes, and even the waiters know what we have. So we go in and, they even know how I like something cooked. With a burger, I like very well done.
Oh, I see.
So I like things well done. Even this morning for breakfast, the eggs
Oh,
firm,
I
the
see.
toast well done.
Oh, I see. The meat also well done, everything.
Yeah, I mean, not a good steak. No, I like a little bit.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but a burger, I don't see the point of
I
having
see,
a
of
burger.
course.
I like
It's
it.
minced, of course. Yeah.
So, gosh, it should be a cookery program.
No, they like to hear actually this kind of
Pipes
things.
and food.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
so you're playing tomorrow the recital, beginning
Yes.
with the Monport, huh?
Yeah.
Yes, actually, I completed. I was the first one to complete all his works. Yeah.
Yeah, she published also the book about Monport.
Yeah. And because I was studying in Spain, but it was surprised that no Spanish pianist knew Monport at that time. And I was the first one to complete the complete works of CD.
Yeah.
Even no Spanish. And after, so I'm happy when I saw you the program.
And that's probably also you studied with Carmen Bravo.
No, I only met her, but I
only.
never met
met her.
Mr.
I see.
Monport.
Oh,
Yeah. So she was very happy because she was. I was Japanese, and I went to visit her. I'm going to complete all the works of Monport, and of course, even no Spanish people really was interested to complete. So she was happy, and she was very, very interesting lady.
Yes, I met her also a couple of times because I think it was in the late 90s. Maybe it was the anniversary, 100th anniversary of his birth, something like that. And everyone who played in Barcelona with the orchestra, they asked to play an encore. And I played the C minor Mozart concerto, and I played the 6th prelude for the left hand alone as my encore, and I love that piece. So I met her then, and I was in the apartment where they lived. And so I played his piano. And so that was very special. But he's the first composer I knew. Because when I was a little child, we had no music in the house. But we had, after I started learning piano, my parents went to buy a record, and they went to the local record shop in Warrington. Not very much choice. And they bought this record of Clive Lithgow, who was a British pianist of the time. And on that record were 2 pieces of Mompo.
Which one?
The Jeune Fille au Jardin, the Young Girls in the Garden, and the Gypsies, guitarists. Yeah, exactly.
Really?
Those 2
Played
pieces.
by?
Played by Clive Lithgow.
Oh, I see.
So I knew his music before I knew Mozart, Brahms, anyone. I mean, Mompo was someone I
But
knew.
it's interesting because your sense of transcription also has a sense of jazz, which that piece has a very jazzy harmony, and very free, which is very common to your transcription. So it doesn't surprise me.
And his playing is so beautiful too.
It's very
so
natural.
Free, beautiful sound,
Yes.
very free. So Mompo I love, and I think most of the pieces are not great in concert because they seem to me too intimate.
Yes, I know. So if you play in a small salon, it's perfect.
Yeah.
Or even for encore. But the hall is too big for his.
I think so.
Yes.
But the Canto Magique, I don't know. It's small.
Yes.
It opens with
Yes,
this
very
call of
magical.
it's like
Yes.
everyone ringing bells or something.
Yeah.
But the Musica Callada, which I recorded just during the pandemic, it just came out a few months ago. That I've done in public, but not in a concert hall. I want to play in different places. So I played in the cathedral in Oxford.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah.
And then in a monastery in Spain, in San Sebastian. And I will play it again, but not in a concert hall.
Exactly.
It's not the
Or
right...
maybe in that hall, this is enough. The space. This kind of space.
Or in a museum, maybe
it's a good idea.
with a big, maybe one of the great
the
museums
high
here in Tokyo, or even in the garden somewhere. Something different from a. I think
you're right.
because the music is very, very special.
I think important when you play something, it's very important. Where you play that bit makes a lot of difference.
Yeah, it's very true. Yeah.
So you knew each other since how many years ago?
Yeah, my wife have known him for many years.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and for my wife, Stephen Hough is the #1 best pianist in the world. And in the history of the piano.
I see.
I think I met your wife in Barcelona. Maybe,
yes.
Maybe it was this concert with the
Before my marriage.
She's a pianist, musician?
No pianist. But she's a scholar of the religious studies.
Oh, I see.
But I think it may have been there, this concert.
In the
90s.
Yes.
So how interesting.
And I and my wife have been to his house once.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
It was very nice to be back. Playing a Japanese piano. Do you play Yamaha?
I play, depends. I play Steinway, I play Kawai, depends. Yeah. Because I think some Yamaha could be, the individual is so different. It's the one, which is, it depends what I'm playing.
Yes, of course. So I thought, well, this is the best one. I came off the Steinway list last year because I want to play other pianos, and they were saying, well, what I see, because I endorsed the Yamaha and I've endorsed the Bechstein. And I recorded on Bosendorfer, and so I had a meeting. He was very nice, but I said, I'm just very promiscuous. I like to play different pianos, but I play mainly Steinways, in the world. But Yamaha, I've recorded now maybe 8 or 9 discs on Yamaha. I think it's wonderful, and I love, especially the ones I played in London. Shinya, who's here, was in London for 7 years, and now Yamaha is finding a color and a sound of the old Steinway from the 1920s. So when I play, I find it's closer to the old style of piano, the Horowitz piano. The one I played in London, we took it to France. And Alain Lampèche, I don't know whether you know Alain Lampèche, he's a major piano critic in Paris. He came to this concert, I played Rachmaninoff 4 actually. He said, this piano, he said, it's the first time it sounds like Horowitz. Why? It's bright, it's got color, you can also play pianissimo on it. It's so much more interesting to me now than many Hamburg Steinways. So I'm very happy to play Yamaha often, and in America now I'm starting to play more Yamaha.
And which, at home, which piano do you own?
I have two Steinways. I have American and a German.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I see. You don't have a Yamaha?
No, I don't have Yamaha. I used to when I was a child. One of my early pianos was a Yamaha. But it was an old one, I think the pianos have been getting better and better over the years. But I've always loved, playing and recording on Yamaha. So now it's my first choice. I have to say so. I don't know whether we can see the logo on the. I haven't played many Kawai, but I think for me it suits me, Yamaha. We've been speaking also about the keys, because the black keys were always bothered me on the Yamaha. They were too shiny and I would slip off. But now they modify the key. In fact, you can see.
Like
maybe later
later.
You see. They just take off the shinies and it's now just the wood, only wood. And I love it now. So very happy.
And were you, your sign, astrological sign, are you Taurus? What was your?
Scorpio.
Oh, Wow, Scorpio man.
Oh, Scorpio.
November?
So, me too.
Oh, really? When is your birthday, both of you?
Birthday or November 15th.
November 15th and.
I'm 22, so just at the
Just-
end.
Yes.
But just I feel a Scorpio.
Between Sagittarius and Scorpio. I see.
I mean, I don't really know fully, but I think Scorpio sounds more interesting to me than Sagittarius.
What is your horoscope?
I'm Libra.
Libra.
15th of October.
I see.
But my father was Scorpio too.
Oh, really? And your mother?
So my mother was an Aquarius.
Oh, I see. Do you have a brother or sister?
No.
Oh, so you're the only child.
I'm the only one. Nobody's left. Everyone's dead. Or my father was an only child, and he died when he was 55, so very young. And I saw you with my book. It tells you a lot of.
Yes.
This tells everyone all the stories about.
Oh, wow. Is this a biography?
It's a biography. In fact, there's a lot of Juilliard in here.
Oh, you wrote it or somebody wrote it?
No, I wrote every word.
I didn't know, but enough.
In fact, I'd have to say that writing is in some ways my real passion, more than music. In some level. When I was a little boy, that's what I loved doing more than anything else.
So who is your favorite literature author?
Well, it depends with poetry.
Yes.
Hopkins has always been a great someone that I've loved very much.
Actually, you do like a lot like your mother.
I think your autobiography enough is the contemporary version of the Arthur Rubinstein's my young years.
Right.
Oh, I didn't. When
So
was this published?
a few months ago.
Oh, really?
Very
Where
recent.
is it?
So there's about my audition at Juilliard and Martin Cannon and where I lived, and so there's a lot of stuff about Juilliard there. But it finishes when I start professional life in 1983.
I see. Very interesting.
So I think that you have to write the sequel. Your activities as a concert pianist.
Yeah, well, I've been asked about this. I don't know, because most of the people in here are no longer alive. And I think once you start writing about colleagues, especially if I really want to be honest and I really want to, because it's not so much an autobiography starting at year one and going through, it's vignettes really. I wrote another book called Rough Ideas, which is about music. And it's the style I like. I also wrote a novel, and what I like are these small chapters. that give you a flavor. It's everything in my writing is like the Debussy preludes. That's my ideal for a book. Is you try to say a lot, and I guess there's something maybe in the Japanese haiku sensibility about what I like. I don't want a German book which is like 20 pages. I just want something which suggests.
Yeah, just what I wanted to say now is that Monpo, Monpo likes haiku.
The same,
very much.
the same.
That's why his compositions are like just haiku, short, but it's very profound.
Very, very Japanese.
And like 575, the haiku.
Yeah, exactly.
So I would, that's right. Maybe I like to, if you could compose like a very short preludes, like even the child could play, but like Monpo type, like very, jazzy.
Well, my first piano sonata is, I think it's 17 movements, all very short, and each with the title of those is like descriptions like affrettando or lamentoso or fragile, that sort of. So that interests me. I mean, and I think it's also the aesthetic, a little bit of the cherry blossom of the things not lasting, but also that you don't. It's okay to let something go. That you don't have to preserve everything. That there's a beauty in the transience of life. And that's something that bothers me a little bit about the present time with YouTube. I love YouTube. We've been singing its praises earlier. But the idea that everything you do has to be recorded and is permanently there, it's always there. What I like about a concert is that it's not recorded. That you play and the sound is gone and then all that's left is the memory.
Oh, yes.
And maybe sometimes you wish you had the recording, but it's there. It happened. So there's something in that about my writing that is influenced by that tradition. So that's why it's called Enough.
Enough.
Partly because it's my name, Hough.
But I understood it so well. That's why I said your composition ends like a wind. They're very fresh, but the music should be like, it's like a perfume. It was nice, and it disappears, but they left you something in your mind.
Yeah, exactly.
The perfume. So very interesting. Wow.
So I'd like to ask you: if some young pianist would like to play your composition, what kind of advice would you like to give?
Well, I'm always so delighted when young pianists want to, and I'm always happy to hear them play, and I would love them to have their own ideas and to do their own thing with it. But so I have 4 piano sonatas. I think they're all quite different. The first one we spoke about, Broken Branches, is very small movements, and then the second one is very bright, very crazy. It's called Notturno Luminoso. It's about midnight. And then Trinitas is the most serious. It's a 12-tone piece, using also a hymn tune as part of its. And then the fourth is the shortest, Vida Breve. It's the shortest one of them all. It's just 10 minutes, and that's kind of, I think, quite passionate, quite anxious, but very condensed and concise. The partita that I'm playing tomorrow is more romantic, really, more tonal, more audience-friendly, I suppose, in some ways. And I have also Sonatina Nostalgica. That's much more romantic. I wanted to write a piece in the style of York Bowen, of Delius, of a sort of romantic English style. But I don't know with young people. Just I'm very happy. So yeah.
Who's your favorite conductor you worked with?
An impossible question. I've worked with so many. This is why I can't write my autobiography.
I see.
I can't talk about conductors.
If you had any very special memories about.
But what I thought, if I wrote about conductors, the title would be "The Conductors Behind."
I see.
Means 2 things. The conductor's behind in that I'm playing and he's or she is not with me, or it's what I see of the conductor. I'm playing, I see the conductor's bottom. So I could describe all the conductors from the behind.
I see.
I see it very clearly from the bench of the keyboard. But no, I've worked with many wonderful conductors of so many different kinds. Maybe younger conductors now is a very different approach, more colleague, less strict maestro. You know, in the early days, I worked with some very intense. Klaus Tenstedt, I remember working. I mean, he was a wonderful conductor, but you know, very serious or different conductors. But yeah, I work sometimes now with the children of conductors. They're now conducting, like Tabitha Berglund, and I worked with Viotti, Marcello Viotti, when he had with him his children. Lorenzo was a little boy, and now Lorenzo Viotti has a career. So I feel very old when I think of these things, but you know, I've been around for a while.
Well, maybe if you have any message for young pianists, Japanese, young pianist who wants to be a pianist.
Well, I mean, one has to be realistic in the sense that it is not easy to have a career, however good you are. And I think of many wonderful pianists. Of course, the whole world of competitions, we haven't spoken about this yet, but it's very, very hard because it's, of course, already hard to get to the finals of any of the great competitions. Whether it's your own Hamamatsu or whether it's all the other competitions where I've heard wonderful Japanese pianists, for instance. I think you have to be true to yourself, too. You have to do what you feel deep inside and not to be too worried about what people think. Don't try and play for the jury. And also, if possible, be patient, because there is time. I think there's a feeling that if I don't have a career by the time I'm 20, then it's all over. No, there's still time. And there are other ways to make a career. And I think also that really in the end, your career will be made more by conductors than by competitions. So if you have a conductor who likes you, and they will bring you to play with their orchestra, it's building up slowly over time. So be calm, work hard, but also don't make yourself ill. Get enough sleep, get exercise. I think these things are very important because I think it's a tremendous pressure for young people. So with my students, one of my students came in very unprepared for one lesson. But I could tell that the student was just stressed with a lot of work. So I might have said, go and practice, you're playing badly, but I actually said, take the night off. Go and have some fun with your friends. I think it's more important than practicing.
So we have to enjoy life, actually.
Of course, absolutely.